Hi, this is Mashnu, and I've been having a look at your game that you sent me. You played this one at chess.com, and you had a very promising position, a very good position, and let's see why this went wrong. I'll just replay the game move by move and give you some commentary. So you are playing white here. You play with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight to f3, b6. So we have here a kind of Queen's Indian setup. Knight to c3, bishop to b7, and now you continue with bishop to f4. It's not the most popular move, bishop f4. More often we see a3 to prevent bishop to b4 by black, and also the move bishop to g5 is quite popular. But bishop to f4 is also has been played in Grandmaster games. It's a logical move in this sense that the bishop is very active in this diagonal here. Now your opponent answered with d5. He is on one hand, we can say, blocking the bishop in this diagonal, but because of the pawn on c4, it's only temporary, probably. You took on c4, he took with the knight, and to prevent this bishop from being taken, you go to g3. Knight to d7, your opponent keeps developing, and here you advance your knight to e5. Now I wonder if this is completely correct. I think it's a better idea to finish your development first, and you could do this by, for example, playing e3. Playing e3 to later bring out this bishop, castle kingside, and after that trying to find active play, for example, by placing your rook on this half open file here. But well, in the game you played knight to e5, so I'll go back. Knight to e5, knight goes to f6. Of course your knight on e5 is standing very strong now there. In fact, it's a bit of a mistake of your opponent to go with his knight from d7 to f6. Trading this knight for your knight on e5 would have been a better idea for him. So with knight to f6, he allowed you to stay with this very strong piece here. e3 you play now. h5, that's a mistake on his side. Well, first of all, the idea of attacking here with the pawn storm while you haven't castled yet is a bit strange, and it is also a tactical mistake, and that's why you make very well use of this by playing this check. Bishop to b5 check is excellent, making use of these weakened light squares. He has to play king to e7 because otherwise you will lose material in some or other way. If you play c6, then you can simply take on c6, and if something goes to d7, then you simply take. So king to e7 only move, so you already have achieved that he cannot castle anymore. You have initiative, and his king is in the center, so vulnerable. You continue with bishop to c6, attacking the bishop on b7. Of course he cannot take this bishop, because if he does, then he will lose his queen. So he plays queen to c8. Rook to c1 looks correct in the sense of placing more pieces into the attack. Now he takes on c6, and you take with the knight, giving check, and the king goes to e8. So until now things are going well. This position is very promising for you, since he cannot castle anymore, and the question is how to continue in an active way. That's very important. And a few moves later, I think you made a mistake by becoming very passive and not keeping the dynamics in the position. You took here on d5, knight takes d5, and now queen to c2. It is logical in the sense that you are using the c file to attack the possible target of c7. After f6 you play a3, and this is too passive. Actually, the move f6 that he did is a very weak move, because it weakens the g6 square a lot. So here the thing to do was to play queen to g6 check. This would be giving you queen to g6 check, again attacking activity. Let's have a look at the possible consequence. King has to go to d7. Now you can give a check on f7. He must play something in between there, knight to e7, and then you can play d5, ripping open all this defense of the black king. It's a kind of rule that, well, it's actually originally from Nimzowitsch, that he wrote this in his famous book My System. He wrote, if your opponent's king is in the center, then you have to try to open the center. So trade pawns in the center so his king becomes vulnerable and you can attack it. That's why d5 is here a strong move. After e takes d5, you can first take on d7 and then take the pawn. And this gives you a, well, almost given position already, because now you are threatening to take on c7. So on the next move, rook takes e7 gives you a strong attack. Now after this, it's advisable to see if you can castle, so you can use also the other rook into the attack. But already the position is really bad for your opponent, so you're winning here. Let's go back to the game. Here's where we left. This move f6. Actually, every time that a pawn is moved, we can always say that a pawn move always makes some squares weak. And in this case, even more because of the first move, the advance of the h-pawn. So g6 becomes really weak now. Now with a3, well, you prevent a knight to b4 or bishop to b4. I suppose that was your idea, but it's actually giving your opponent time to recover. He played knight to e7. Now you castled, queen to d7. Still your position is good. I mean, it's not that you have given away your advantage completely by not giving this check on g6. Still, there was an idea now, could be to take on e7 to make queen to g6 possible later. Let's see if that's actually possible right now. If you take here, you would retake, let's say, with bishop, and then you can give a check here. Now the king can go to f8. That's a bit different than before. But now c7 is hanging, so still a rook takes e7 gives you a very promising position still. So again, this weakness on g6 is actually the main thing in the position that that you could have used. Here you played knight to b4, and he continued with a5. Now your knight goes to d3. So we see that your pieces are retreating instead of attacking. He now defended his pawn on c7, and here is what we call a self-pin. You took on c7 with the bishop, and actually you are pinning your own bishop now. So now black gets really counter chances. He played the move knight to d5, making use of the pin here on c7, so you are getting now a bit in trouble. you played queen to c6 here, and in fact you accepted that you would lose a piece. Perhaps there was a way to avoid this huge advantage for black by playing the move here, knight to f4. The idea is that we open with this the where is like there the arrow. We open this diagonal towards g6 by moving knight to f4. So if here he would take on c7, then you can give the check again, king e7. I mean, still you are a piece behind, but you have the use of this g6 square. Later, if you remove the queen from g6, you are threatening knight g6 check, winning the rook. So it has some tactical ideas, some possible chances. And also you can right now take on h5, perhaps knight takes f5, attacking g7. I mean, it's not completely convincing, but it gives you some possible tactical play, especially in positions where you are a bit material behind. Well, in this case a whole piece behind. It's good not to trade the heavy pieces, so to keep the queens on the board, so you can try to regain some material in some way. Well, let's go back to the game now, because here you played queen to c6, and in fact queen to c6 is diminishing the chances for you to regain the piece that you're going to lose. He took on c7, queen takes d7 check, rook takes d7, rook c8 check, king goes to f7, and now a rook to c1. Well, positionally it's correct what you do, in the sense that you are controlling the c-file. Now, unfortunately, you are just too much material behind to make this work. Rook h6, strange move. Rook to b8, attacking the pawn on b6. Bishop to d6, attacks your rook. And now you play rook to c8. I don't know, perhaps you missed that he was attacking your rook on b8. It happens, and this is something psychological actually, that sometimes when we make one mistake, then the next mistakes follow soon. Sometimes we lose our concentration when we notice that we have lost a piece. Then we lose our concentration, and we make even more mistakes, like this one, you giving away this exchange on b8. So it's very important that after you have made a small mistake or a bit bigger mistake, stay as concentrated as possible and see if you can find some way to get active counterplay. He took, of course, the rook here, and this results now you're a rook behind. It's more or less hopeless. He controls now the c-file, king to f1. He advances his pawns there. Your attack is knight, and now there is a trade here. He first gives a check and then recaptures the knight. It's already there's no way to save it now. Even if you take that pawn on b6, unfortunately, it's 2 rooks is just too much. And after later the h2 pawn falls, then this h pawn is unstoppable. So here we see that in a few moves he advances his pawn, and it's impossible to stop. And now he will queen, so it's correct that you resigned here at this moment. Now let's have a look at the most important parts of the game that are the most instructive for you, I think. Let's see. Well, it actually... Now let's go through the game fast, because one important thing is, well, this moment, this is the first moment here. The general rule is first try to develop all your pieces, so a move like e3 in this position would be a bit better than what you played. Knight to e5. Now fortunately for you, he played knight to f6, so your knight on e5 became a very strong piece, and you use it very well after this. by giving this check on b5. Now the most important thing actually in the game is that how can you keep the initiative and keep the dynamic play, and that is something that went especially wrong after this move a3 that you played. That is simply too passive. When the king of the opponent is vulnerable and is weakening squares, you have really tried to look for active dynamic moves. Like here, as I said, queen to g6 was the way to continue the attack, and this would have given you very good chances to win this game. So after this we have this position, and here it looks as if you are losing a bit already your concentration. It has happened to me as well, and to many others, that when we have a very promising position and we see that our advantage is diminishing slowly, we tend to try to force some more advantage. Instead of staying cool and thinking clearly, we try to force things that are not there. And like here, this winning of this pawn on c7, in fact it is a self-pin, so you're pinning your own bishop there, and it's giving your opponent very good chances now. Knight to d5, queen c6 is, we can say, also a mistake, in the sense that the rule is, if you are going to lose material and the king of the opponent may become vulnerable, then keep the heavy pieces on the board. So here actually a better way to play this would be, for example, simply to play e4, allow him to take on c7, and then move the queen away from here. So we keep the heavy pieces on the board. That increases your possible counter chances. Although of course black is in this position better, but there are chances. Perhaps against b6, perhaps against e6, perhaps later somehow this g7 square. So let's go back, queen c6 played, and now after queen trade is actually there are no chances. This is, and after this extra mistake of missing this attack on the rook on b8, it's actually all over now. You try to continue, see if your opponent played this correctly, and it was not difficult for him to win this with a rook more, and creating this fast pawn that advances here. Alright, well, I hope you found this instructive to have a critical look at your own game. This is actually the best way to learn, is to have a good critical look at our own games, see not only where we made a mistake, but why we made the mistake. That's very important to understand, and actually each game where you make mistakes you can see as an opportunity to improve, an opportunity to learn. And this learning point in this game is actually about a piece activity and keeping the dynamism in a position where we had an attacking possibilities. So I wish you all the best, and keep playing and keep improving, because chess is an endless mystery that will never be solved, and we are always challenged to learn more and to try to improve. Alright, thanks for watching. You can go to my website now and do a donation if you like, and I hope to see you next time. Alright, good luck and goodbye.